So can Deontay Wilder become a world champion again? Well, not a heavyweight, but could he do it at Bridgerweight? The Bridgerweight world title which just took place between Akoli and Rosansky, they both came in heavier than Wilder, who was a heavyweight, which seems insane, right? So I think if Wilder does want to keep boxing and he doesn't want to retire, I think he's going to have to move down in weight because, I mean, Zhang, is absolutely humongous, came in so much heavier than him. You're just like giving yourself an unnecessary disadvantage. You're already a little bit out of form. Like, you don't need to give yourself another disadvantage by fighting a guy who's 60 pounds heavier than you. So, in my opinion, if Deontay Wilder wants to keep fighting, I think he'll have to go down and do it at Bridgerweight against Lawrence Akoli, who would be much nearer to him in weight. But this is why Chris Eubank was against the fight between his son, Eubank Jr., and Conor Benn, because weight should fight weight. That's healthy. No one's cutting excessive amounts of weight. No one's pitting on weight. Your punch resistance is going to be good. Weight should fight weight. In Wilder's defense, although he didn't look good on the night, it was unfair in a way that he had to fight such a big man against Zhang. He just looked a shell of his former self, didn't he, really, Wilder? He was doing the whole bomb squad thing, but just didn't really feel like he meant it. Didn't really feel like he had that same intensity in his eyes before his previous fights. Did Tyson Fury take his soul? I think maybe, but I think the biggest mistake Wilder made was switching trainers. In the first fight against Tyson Fury, his game plan went well, waiting till the later rounds and just trying to hit him with something big. Wilder's got to be good for 20 seconds. Everyone else has got to be good for 12 rounds. His game plan against Fury worked. It's just Fury has crazy resistance. Like, he somehow got up from that. Obviously, and in the second fight, I think it was just Tyson Fury was at his best. And maybe this is punishment for Wilder for, sacking his trainer. Because that trainer clearly knew Wilder, knew how to use his attributes to the best of his ability and get the best out of Wilder. It just looks like this new trainer just hasn't really worked with Wilder. Obviously, he got the knockout over Helenius, but just hasn't looked the same against Parker or Zhang. And although everyone says, like, oh, Wilder needs to start putting his punches together, Wilder's never really put his punches together, has he? Like, he'll just wait it out and then just try and hit you with that 1-2. So, a disappointing night for Deontay, but credit for him to getting in the ring and taking on such a challenge against a great fighter and a huge man in Zhang. And congratulations to Zhang for getting the win. So, let's move on to the rest of the card. So, I absolutely love this 5v5 format. It was so exciting. I love the fact that it was like 8:30 for me in the UK, and you're already excited. I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, Craig Richards versus Hutchinson. Oh, this might be a bit boring. And then, it got into a few rounds. I was like, oh, Hutchinson's doing really well. I thought Craig Richards was going to win fairly comfortably. A lot of people were saying they thought that Richards should have been the captain. But, Hutchinson did really well. He had a really unorthodox style that I just don't think Richards was prepared for. And I was listening to Hutchinson's interviews beforehand, and I was like, this is the most confident man I've ever heard. Like, you can kind of hear conviction in someone's voice. And I was like, I think you really mean what you're going to say. And obviously he had been knocked out before, but look, huge respect. He had crazy self-belief, self-confidence, and he came and put it on Craig Richards. And he did a better job on Craig Richards than Bill did, in my opinion. So huge respect to Hutchinson. Craig Richards, a bit of a frustrating fight for him. He's always been a slow starter. It's always a little bit frustrating watching him because you're like, come on, like, get to it. And it's kind of in like the later rounds he wakes up a bit. Sometimes fighters need that. I remember MMA fighter Paddy Pimble saying, sometimes he just needs a few punches to kind of like wake him up, to kind of trigger that, adrenaline. So I don't know if it's the same for Richards. Like, he just needs a few rounds to figure out the guy's range, figure out his patterns, and maybe just get into the fight a bit more. But it was only kind of like 5 or 6 rounds down. Like, the guy's insulting you a bit. He kind of bitch slapped him at one point, talking all that shit about you beforehand. It's like, it was just frustrating to watch, really, as a Craig Richards fan. Obviously, Richards did eventually have a go, and there was that really exciting 11th round where it was kind of like a slugfest. So, credits for Richards to, putting his foot on the gas when it was needed. But yeah, frustrating night for Richards. There hasn't been much talk about it from Shane McGuigan on social media, which is quite interesting. There hasn't been like commiserations. It's just kind of been silent, like Shane was playing golf yesterday. So is Shane a bit annoyed at him? Did he not kind of do what they were doing in training? I think Richards was quite buzzed. Like, I was looking at him in the later rounds and I was like, I don't think you're all quite there. Like, Richards has a really good chin, to be fair to him. He didn't go down, but I was looking at him and thinking, I think you're quite buzzed. Credit to Richards for, having a go and putting it on Hutchinson in the end. And where do both fighters go next? Well, I think for Hutchinson, a Boazzi fight would be great. Is that too soon? No, I think a Boazzi fight would be good. And I think for Craig Richards, Dan Aziz, the next opponent for him. It was just so nice to have an exciting fight right at the start of the night. Because you're already excited. It's like, oh, I got 5 more hours to look forward to. So I was just really happy. I really like this 5v5 card, you know, seeing competitive fights, unexpected turns. It was great. Obviously, the next fight was Nick Ball versus Raymond Ford. Nick Ball, that man is a machine. Like, he just kept going. Ford was trying to kind of Mayweather him at times, but Nick Ball just kept coming forward. I like that he really knows who he is. He was saying in the interviews beforehand, look, I am who I am. I'm going to walk forward and I'm going to put it on you. He doesn't pretend to be someone he's not. He knows exactly who he is. And it works. Like, guy is tough as nails. His ankle looked gone by like halfway point. His jaw was gone. His nose was all busted up. And he just kept going. I thought Ford did enough to win it in the end. But look, that's why you don't give up. That's why you don't quit. That's why you take hard fights. Because you can get all the glory if you just keep going. And, you know, good things come around. He was unlucky to not get a win in his last fight, and now he's world champion. So hats off to Nick Ball, one of my favourite fighters now. Just so tough, so durable. What a machine. And Raymond Ford as well was really good. Unlucky not to get the win, and both men did themselves really proud. The next fight was Hamza Shiraz versus Amo Williams. Again, really exciting start. Amo Williams started to put it on Hamza Shiraz, and you're thinking, oh, Hamza Shiraz is looking quite drained. Could this be a big shock as Amo gets him out of there early? But Hamza pulled it together and really, you know, start to put it off in the end, putting some really nice shots together. And obviously, huge credit to Hamza for getting the finish. But Amo Williams as well, like, what a tough dude. Like, he really took his punishment in there. Didn't give up. He kept going. You know, he took his punishment. So, you know, hats off to Amo Williams. You were brave out there. You really, really fought hard for everything. So, you know, hats off to Amo Williams as well. Hopefully bright futures for both of the fighters. And then next on the card, Dimitri Bivol versus Malik Zinad. Obviously, Zinad not on the same level as, you know, Beterbiev. But I was impressed by Bivol. Like, he doesn't normally get finishes. It's been ages since he's got one. So, you know, he got that early knockdown and obviously finished him in the middle rounds. And it was nice to see. Like, I think Bivol often kind of goes down to his opponent's level. Like, he won't overexert himself if he doesn't need to. He's very composed. He's very calm, and he kind of does what he needs to finish the fight. But he was like, look, no, I'm just going to finish you. I'm going to get you out of here. Not something we've seen in Bivol that much. So it was nice to see. And I think you're going to need that kind of ferocity against a Beterbiev. Obviously, it's great to be calm and disciplined. Because I remember Craig Richards saying after he fought Bivol, one of his strengths was that he's really disciplined. You hit him with a shot and you think, oh, if I get him there again, I'm going to hurt him. But you just never get the shot. You never get the opening to the shot again. Because he's just so disciplined. He's like, right, that hurt me once. I'm not going to let it happen again. So I think that mix of discipline and knowing when to put it on someone, he looks in great shape. I'm thinking he's going to stand himself a really good chance against Beterbiev. I mean, what a fight that's going to be. Like, two of the, you know, pound for pound stars in boxing. Can't wait. That's going to be a thriller, isn't it? So after that, it was the heavyweights. Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgović. I did a video saying I thought Daniel Dubois would win, so it was nice that I turned out to be correct. I think for Filip Hrgović, I think the mistake he made was, I think he was a little bit arrogant. I think because he knew that he'd beaten Dubois in the past, he didn't have to do much to win. I think he thought, oh, I'm just going to show up and it's going to be a repeat of what happened in sparring. If you didn't know, they were supposed to like spar together 4 times, but Dubois only showed up for 2 of them, and I think he got pretty pissed up. So I think Hrgović pretty walked in there saying, look, I'm this guy's not on my level. Are you training that hard if that's your mindset? Probably not. Probably a little bit like Fury versus Ngannou. Underestimating your opponent is very dangerous. And Hrgović had some success in the early rounds, you know. He was hitting Dubois with those 1-2s, but he didn't have a lot of variation. That was kind of all he had. And Dubois bit down his gum shield, dug deep, and put it on Hrgović. And it looks like his boxing IQ was really improved. His footwork was great. He was incorporating some head movements. He was putting a lot of shots together. And he'd incorporated the dark arts a bit. Yes, depending on what type of boxing you like, depends on if you like the dark arts or not. But in terms of like winning at all costs, like headbutting your opponent, not really headbutting, he wasn't like walking into it, but he was kind of like just using his head a bit. So she has that nasty side, which I think is necessary, you know. Until the referee says to stop, you might as well keep doing it, right? Like, you know, huge credit to Dubois. And I think my prediction was right. I said that even though Hrgović was undefeated, I think Dubois learned so much in his losses, and that's why I thought he'd win. Because, you know, being in there with Usyk and going to that dark place against Joyce where your heart so badly you can nearly go blind, like, it's just going to give you experience. So it's like, you know, undefeated records on everything. Although undefeated records are great, like, to have good names on there. Like, you look at, you know, Gervonta Davis, you know, he's beaten Ryan Garcia. And Usyk as well, like, Usyk's record is crazy. And, yeah, Dubois did really well. Outboxed Hrgović, who might be frustrated that he underestimated Dubois in the end. And then, obviously, we came on to the fight of the night, Zhang versus Wilder. I wouldn't say it was a letdown because I mean it went like exactly how I thought it was going to do. I thought Zhang would get him out there in about round 5 or round 6. I wasn't really that surprised Wilder didn't really turn up. He threw a few shots in kind of round 5, but it just kind of went how I expected, really. A little bit boring. Zhang just kind of walked Wilder into the corner and hit him. Boring fight, but credit to Zhang. And I think Wilder either has to retire or down to Bridgerweight. But again, credit to both men for getting in the ring. You know, it was brave of Wilder to go against a man so much bigger than him. And, you know, Zhang did well to redeem himself from his loss against Parker. Like, Wilder's just got such a unique physique. Like, his legs are really small, but he can hit really hard. Even though if he could cut down anymore, because he always looks pretty ripped. So I think you get down to Bridgerweight, but I don't think you get down to Cruiserweight. And another thing I liked about the card was the whole Queensberry matchroom tension. It just brought another element to it. I wasn't really that fussed about the whole kind of Eddie versus Frank Warren situation. I thought it was a bit fake. I was like, they're making a lot of money together. But it was quite exciting, you know, as you're going through the fights, you're trying to count up, oh, who's winning? Oh, if this guy wins, this team's going to win. Like, it had just another element of excitement to the already very exciting fight night. So, together, a really exciting night of boxing. This 5v5 concept is awesome, and I really hope to see it again. And it looks like the next big fight in the heavyweight scene, obviously apart from the Usyk-Fury rematch, will be Dubois versus AJ in September. If I was Dubois, his coach, I don't know if I'd be taking that fight just yet. I think maybe you'd want 1 or 2 more fights first before you take an AJ fight. You don't want 3 losses on your record at that young age. I think maybe you go Parker, Zhang, even they're quite bigger names, aren't they, before you go for an AJ. But as a fan, it's an exciting fight, you know, an all-British world title fight. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of the night. I loved it personally. Best card I've seen in a while. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.